Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem and here is the news. 498 days less the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The number of victims of yesterday's Russian missile attack at Lviv rose to 9 people killed, 42 wounded, including 3 children, reports Suspilne. At least 7 people were saved from under the debris. The mayor of Lviv, Andriy Sadovy, informed that 2 apartment buildings were almost completely destroyed, they will need to be restored, people have been evacuated. In total, about 35 houses were damaged during the night. Yesterday, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy visited Bulgaria, reports Ukrainska Pravda. During the visit, Ukraine and Bulgaria signed a declaration that Sofia supports Kyiv's membership in NATO as soon as conditions allow. This way, it became the 22nd NATO member who supported Ukraine's Euro-Atlantic integration. Zelenskyy had an argument with Bulgarian President Rumen Radev about military aid for the country and criticized Radev's pro-Russian stance. The argument was captured on camera. During the meeting, Radev said that there was no military solution to this conflict and that more and more weapons hardly lead to that solution. Zelenskyy responded by asking what Radev would do if Russia invaded Bulgaria. Would you say, Putin, please grab Bulgarian territory? No, you, as a real president, I'm sure you would not allow a compromise with your independence, Zelenskyy said. He criticized Radev for using conflict rather than war to describe Russia's invasion of Ukraine and brushed aside Radev's suggestion of a diplomatic solution, explaining that military aid for Kyiv is a way for other countries, including Bulgaria, to ensure that war does not come to you. Ukraine's president said that it is important that Kyiv receives the weapons and ammunition it needs in time for a successful counteroffensive and further liberation of its territories. He added that the Russian army is mining the occupied territories extensively to prevent the advance of Ukrainian troops, and a lot of special equipment is needed to overcome these obstacles. After Bulgaria, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy traveled to Czechia, reports Union. The President of Ukraine held a meeting with the President of the Czech Republic, Petr Pavel. They discussed issues of common security and cooperation to strengthen defense, a possible response to terrorist threats created by Russia, in particular to the situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Supporting Ukraine will always be our goal. We want Ukraine to win and all of us to win, so that we preserve the values on which our society is based, stressed Pavel. In addition, he emphasized that the Czech Republic is ready to support Ukraine at the NATO summit in Vilnius and contribute to financial assistance. The president added that Prague will try to start the EU negotiation process with Ukraine by the end of this year, and NATO after the end of the war, reports Interfax Ukraine. 45 Ukrainian military personnel and 2 children were liberated from Russian captivity in another prisoners of war exchange, reports Interfax Ukraine. Head of the President's office Andriy Yermak informed that among the liberated are soldiers of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the National Guard and the State Border Guard Service. Among them there are 2 officers, 41 privates and a sergeant, a civic employee of the Azovstal plant and a member of the territorial defense of the city of Kherson. Ukraine has also managed to liberate the defenders of the city of Mariupol and the Azovstal plant, as well as the soldiers from the Donetsk front, including the city of Bakhmut, the Zaporizhzhia and Kharkiv fronts. There are injured soldiers among them. The Ukrainian children who had been illegally deported to Russia have also been brought back, 6-year-old Rinat and 10-year-old Varvara. Their mother, a combat medic, has been liberated from the Russian captivity during the big prisoners of war swap in October 2022. The Russian media reported that 45 people had been returned to Russia. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, and leave a glowing review in the app where you are listening to this podcast. This way more people would learn about the highlights from Ukraine and truth about Russia's invasion. The US administration is expected to announce a new military aid package for Ukraine, which for the first time will include cluster munitions, reports European Pravda. According to the media, it is likely that the US will give Ukraine cluster munitions from its own army reserves. Later, Pentagon spokesman Brigadier General Patrick Ryder confirmed that the US is indeed discussing the possibility of providing Ukraine with cluster munitions, designed to improve the effectiveness of the offensive actions of the Ukrainian forces, but the decision is not yet made. In 2008, more than 120 countries adopted a treaty banning the production, use, and stockpiling of cluster munitions. The US, Russia, and Ukraine refused to join it. The media reported in 2022 that Turkey had begun sending US-developed cluster munitions to Ukraine after months of Kyiv's pleas to the Biden administration to provide them. The Ukrainian side denied such reports. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We are a commercial initiative of just two people and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.